The judge asked the 6-year-old boy a simple question. Which of these women is your real mother? The courtroom held its breath. He didn't point to the elegant socialite who'd filed for custody. His small hand stretched out, unwavering, toward the woman in the back wearing a cleaning uniform. And the most dangerous man in the city, watching via video feed from a locked cell, froze because he knew her face. Her name was Amanda. She cleaned courtrooms for a living. The woman fighting for custody was a socialite named Vanessa Croft, with a fortune and a legal team that filled the first row. And the man on the screen was Dominic Toscani, a name that invoked fear across the city. He hadn't seen Amanda in 7 years. He thought she was gone forever. So why was she here in his son's custody hearing? And what did she know that was about to shatter his entire world? In his maximum security cell, Dominic Toscani's shock turned to ice-cold terror. Not for himself, but for the boy. His son, Leo, was the only piece of his empire he had left. And the woman Leo just pointed to, the woman Dominic had paid to disappear a lifetime ago, wasn't supposed to exist. 7 years earlier, Dominic Toscani wasn't watching his life through a grainy prison video feed. He was building it, brick by bloody brick, into the most feared criminal operation on the eastern seaboard. From ports to poker games, his network moved anything for a price. He was 31, ruthless and untouchable, until he met a law student named Amanda Vance at a charity gala he was laundering money through. She was bright, stubborn, and saw straight through the expensive suit to the man beneath. It was a doomed attraction from the start. A 6-month whirlwind he could never explain to his crew. He was the boss. She was a liability. His consigliere, a hardened man named Silas, spelled it out one night. She knows your face, your habits, your real name. She's a law student, Dominic. She's a future subpoena with a heartbeat. You end it clean or I will. Dominic tried to push her away. He was cruel, distant, hoping she'd leave. Instead, she showed up at his penthouse one rainy October night with a suitcase. She was pregnant. The timing was impossible, a blessing wrapped in a catastrophe. Silas was apoplectic. A child was a target. An heir was a vulnerability. The mother was a walking conspiracy charge. The pressure from his own organization became a vice. He was given an ultimatum: sever all ties permanently or lose control of everything he'd built. So he made the only deal he could. He gave Amanda $250,000 in untraceable cash. He arranged new documents, a fresh identity. He told her to vanish, to raise their child somewhere safe, far from his world. The last time he saw her, she was crying in a parked car, her hand resting on her stomach. He watched her drive away, believing it was the kindest thing he could ever do for her. He believed she was gone for good. He was wrong. Back in the present courtroom, chaos erupted. Vanessa Croft's lawyer shot to his feet, objecting. "Your Honor, this is a blatant manipulation. This custodian has no standing. The boy is clearly confused." The judge, an elderly woman with sharp eyes, silenced him with a look. She focused on Leo, who was still standing small and defiant in the witness chair. "Young man," she asked gently, "can you tell me why you pointed to that woman?" Leo's voice was a tiny, clear bell in the tense quiet. "Because she's my mom. She reads me stories. She makes soup when I'm sick. She was my nanny." A murmur swept the room. Vanessa Croft's face, a mask of polished outrage, faltered for a single, revealing second. It wasn't just anger, it was fear. Hear what the official custody petition said. With Dominic Toscani imprisoned for life on racketeering and murder-for-hire charges, his parental rights were deemed forfeit. The state needed to place 6-year-old Leo Toscani with a suitable guardian. Vanessa Croft, Dominic's estranged half-sister, presented herself as the logical, loving choice. She had wealth, a pristine social record, no criminal ties. She argued that as family, she could provide stability and sever the boy's connection to his father's toxic legacy. The court agreed in principle. This hearing was the final formality. It was supposed to be a rubber stamp. But Vanessa had a problem, a secret one. Leo hated her. He had since the day 9 months prior when she'd first visited him at the state-run group home. He'd scream, he'd hide, he'd call her the cold lady, desperate to make the arrangement work. and to secure the court's approval, Vanessa had done what wealthy people do. She hired help. She contracted a premium domestic service for a live-in nanny to care for Leo at her estate to smooth the transition. The service sent Amanda. Not Amanda Vance. Amanda Miller, with forged credentials and a 7-year gap in her resume she couldn't explain. Vanessa never asked. She saw a quiet, competent woman who could calm her difficult nephew. That was all that mattered. For 6 months, Amanda was a ghost in Vanessa's mansion. She stayed in the staff quarters. She cared for Leo with a quiet, intense devotion that went far beyond a nanny's duty. She never spoke of her past. She never left the grounds. And Leo, the traumatized, silent boy who flinched at loud noises, bloomed under her care. He called her Manda. He trusted her, which is exactly why when the court date arrived, Vanessa gave her a simple, firm order. Stay home. This doesn't concern you. Amanda disobeyed. She took a bus downtown, walked into the courthouse in her service uniform, and sat in the very last row. She thought she'd just watch, just make sure Leo was okay. She never intended to be seen. The judge turned her gaze from Leo to the back of the room. "Ms. Miller, is it? Please approach the bench." Every head turned as Amanda stood. She moved slowly, wiping her cheeks with the back of her hand, her uniform suddenly feeling like a costume. She stopped a few feet from the witness stand, close enough to see Leo's brave, trembling smile. "Ma'am," the judge began, "this child has identified you as his primary caregiver. Can you explain your relationship to Leo Toscani?" Amanda's eyes flicked to the video monitor. On the screen, Dominic was leaning forward, his face a storm of confusion and dawning, horrible hope. She took a deep, shuddering breath. She had sworn never to speak of this. She had built a life in the shadows to protect the very secret she was now about to unleash. "Your Honor," she said, her voice stronger than she felt, "my name isn't Amanda Miller. It's Amanda Vance. And 7 years ago, Dominic Toscani paid me to disappear because I was carrying his child." The courtroom exploded. Vanessa's lawyer was shouting about perjury and fraud. Reporters in the gallery scrambled for their phones. The judge hammered her gavel, her composure finally cracking. On the video screen, Dominic slumped back in his chair, his hand over his mouth, as the past 7 years of his life, every assumption, every regret, rearranged itself in an instant. But Amanda wasn't finished. She looked directly at the camera, at the man who thought he'd sent her away. "And I didn't come here today for custody, Dominic. I came because someone is trying to kill our son." The word "kill" sucked all the air from the courtroom. For 3 seconds, there was absolute silence. Then the video monitor went black. Dominic Toscani's feed from the penitentiary was cut, severed by a corrections officer who'd heard enough. Judge Wilkins regained control with the force of a gavel strike. "Order. This hearing is in recess. Ms. Vance, you will accompany court officers to my chambers. Now, the child will remain with a court-appointed guardian." She pointed a stern finger at Vanessa Croft and her lawyer. "And the two of you will wait in the anteroom. Do not speak to anyone." Amanda was led away, casting one last, desperate look at Leo, who was sobbing as a social worker pried him from the witness chair. The plan, her reckless, terrifying plan to force the truth into the open, was in motion. There was no taking it back. In his cell, Dominic Toscani was screaming at a blank screen. He slammed his fists against the reinforced glass until his knuckles split. Guards rushed in, but he wasn't trying to escape. He was giving orders. "Get me my lawyer, now, I don't care what it costs. Tell Silas to find her. Protect my son." The guards dragged him back, but the message was relayed. Within minutes, Dominic's high-priced attorney was on the phone to the courthouse, and his consigliere, Silas, was mobilizing assets that hadn't been used since Dominic's indictment. In the judge's wood-paneled chambers, Amanda laid out the evidence she'd been too afraid to bring to the police. It started 2 months after she began working at Vanessa's estate. Leo, who had a severe peanut allergy, was given a sandwich. Amanda always prepared his food. That day, a substitute housekeeper insisted on helping. Leo took one bite. His throat began to close. Amanda used his EpiPen and called 911. The official report called it a tragic accident, cross-contamination in the kitchen, but Amanda had checked the trash. The jar of peanut butter was new, unopened, and hadn't been purchased by the household staff. 3 weeks later, Leo's asthma inhaler, which was always kept on his nightstand, was replaced with one that looked identical. When Leo used it during a panic attack, his breathing worsened, his lips turning blue. Amanda grabbed it, gave it a testing puff herself, and felt her own airways constrict. It wasn't albuterol. It was a concentrated saline mist laced with a mild bronchoconstrictor. She smashed it and flushed the pieces, telling Vanessa the boy had dropped it in the toilet. She had no proof, only the lingering tightness in her own chest. The final attempt was the most subtle. A children's multivitamin swapped from the brand Amanda approved to a nearly identical generic. The difference was in the iron content, a dosage meant for an adult, which could cause serious toxicity in a 6-year-old over time. Amanda found the bottle, noticed the slight color variation in the pills, and had them tested at a private lab using the last of her savings. The report confirmed her fear. She confronted Vanessa, who fired her on the spot, calling her paranoid and unstable. Vanessa told her if she ever contacted Leo or spoke of her suspicions, she'd have her arrested for trespassing and harassment. That was the day Amanda decided to crash the custody hearing. Judge Wilkins listened, her face impassive. "These are serious allegations, Ms. Vance, but you have no tangible proof. The sandwich is eaten. The inhaler is destroyed. The vitamins could have been a simple mistake. Why should I believe this isn't a desperate play for custody by a woman with a fabricated identity?" Amanda reached into the pocket of her cleaning uniform. She placed a small, sealed plastic bag on the judge's desk. Inside was a single white pill, the vitamin from the bottle I found. I saved one. The lab report is digital, but I printed it. She slid a folded sheet of paper across the desk. The judge read it, her eyebrows rising. "And there's one more thing," Amanda said, her voice dropping. "I never applied to the nanny service. They contacted me, out of the blue. They said my name had been referred by a previous client, but I hadn't worked in years. They offered double the standard rate. All I had to do was care for a little boy named Leo at the Croft estate. It was a trap. Someone led me right to him, and then someone else tried to kill him while I was there." While Amanda was talking to the judge, Vanessa Croft was in the anteroom, having a hissed argument with her lawyer. "You said this was clean. You said she was just some homeless woman he paid off. He didn't pay her off, you idiot. She's the mother. And she's going to ruin everything." The lawyer, a man named Robert Thorne, kept his voice low and cold. "Calm down. Her story is insane. A nanny saving poisoned vitamins. It's the ranting of a scorned woman. The judge will see that. But we need to discredit her, and we need to control the narrative. Your brother's people are already swarming. I just got a text. Silas is asking questions." Vanessa's face paled. Silas, Dominic's attack dog. If he was involved, they were already in over their heads. Across town, in a nondescript office building that served as the front for Tuscany operations, Silas received the reports. He was a man in his 60s, with the calm demeanor of a librarian and the eyes of a sniper. He'd run Dominic's business for the 18 months since the boss went to prison, maintaining the facade of legitimate enterprise while keeping the darker channels dormant. He listened as his men relayed the courtroom drama. The mother, alive, and claiming murder attempts. Silas had a problem, a big one. He was the one who 7 years ago had handed Amanda Vance the cash and the new identity. He was the one who had driven her to the bus station. He had reported the job done. For 7 years, Dominic believed his son was being raised anonymously, safely, somewhere far away. Silas had let him believe that. Because the truth was, Silas had taken the $250,000, given Amanda $50, and kept the rest. He then fabricated a report that she'd moved to Oregon. He never checked on her again. She was a loose end he'd considered snipped. Her reappearance wasn't just a shock. It was an existential threat. If Dominic discovered Silas had stolen from him, had lied about the child's safety, it was a death sentence. But that wasn't Silas's only problem. The poisoning attempts Amanda described were real, and he hadn't ordered them. He made a call, the Croft woman, her lawyer. I want to know every detail of their finances, every call, every meeting for the past year, and find out who that nanny service is, who owns it, who paid them. Meanwhile, Judge Wilkins made a decision. The custody hearing was suspended indefinitely. Leo Toscani would be placed in temporary protective custody with the Department of Children and Families at a secure location. Neither Vanessa Croft nor Amanda Vance would have access until a full investigation was completed. It was the only safe, legal call. But it placed the boy directly in the bureaucratic machinery of the state, a system that was slow, leaky, and utterly unprepared for the kind of predators now circling. The news broke online within the hour. Mafia airs secret mother revealed in courtroom drama. Custody battle turns into murder plot. The footage of Leo pointing, of Amanda crying, of the blacked out monitor went viral. Dominic Toscani was back in the headlines, and his son was now a public figure in a deadly game. That night in her temporary holding room at a women's shelter, Amanda received a visitor. It wasn't a lawyer or a social worker. It was a young, nervous-looking man in a delivery uniform. He handed her a sealed pizza box. I was told to give this directly to you, no one else. He left quickly. There was no pizza inside, just a burner phone. It rang 30 seconds after she opened the box. She answered, her heart in her throat. Amanda. It was Dominic's voice, filtered and distorted, patched through a series of secure lines. They said, someone, trying to kill my boy, tell me everything. She told him all of it. The peanut butter, the inhaler, the vitamins, the strange nanny service, Vanessa's fury. When she finished, there was a long silence on the line. You should have come to me, he finally said, his voice thick with an emotion she couldn't place. I was scared. You paid me to disappear. I thought you didn't want us. Another pause. I paid you to be safe. I failed. Listen to me. The people around me, I can't trust them. Not with this. Silas is looking, but he's looking the wrong way. What do you mean? The attempts on Leo. They're not professional. A swapped inhaler, poisoned vitamins, that's messy. Amateur. Someone trying to make it look like an accident but panicking when it didn't work. This isn't a rival family. This is personal. This is someone who needs Leo gone but can't afford a clean, obvious hit. Someone who needs to maintain plausible deniability. The realization hit Amanda like a physical blow. You think it's Vanessa. She's my half-sister. She inherited nothing from our father. I have assets. Holdings she doesn't know about, held in trust for Leo. If Leo dies before a legal guardian is formally appointed, the trust dissolves. The money goes back into the estate, and Vanessa is the only living relative left to claim it. Amanda sat down heavily. It was about money. It was always about money. But Dominic wasn't finished. There's a piece missing. How did she find you? How did she know to bring you into that house? I buried you deep, Amanda. Only one other person knew where you were supposed to be. Silas. The name hung between them, a ghost on the line. The man who had been Dominic's brother-in-arms. The man who had orchestrated her disappearance. I need you to do something for me, Amanda. Something dangerous. I'm listening. Get out of that shelter. Use the phone. There's a number programmed in it. Call it. Ask for a car. It will take you to a safe house. Then I need you to find the connection between my sister and my consigliere. You're invisible to them, a cleaning lady, a homeless woman. They'll look right through you. Find the proof. Because if I make a move from in here, they'll know, and Leo will be dead before sunset. He was asking her to spy on a Mafia lieutenant and a wealthy socialite. With no resources, no protection. It was suicide. And if I do this, what happens to Leo? You get him back, Dominic said, his voice stripped bare of all pretense. You get him back and I burn the whole world down to keep you both safe. That's my deal." The line went dead. Amanda stared at the burner phone. Outside, the city lights glittered, a map of 1,000 hidden threats. She had a name now, a target, Vanessa and Sila's. But first, she had to get to the safe house. She had to disappear again, but this time, right under their noses. She pressed the call button. The voice that answered was crisp, efficient. "The car is 5 minutes away, Ms. Vance. Be at the south corner. Come alone." As she slipped out a service entrance, a sleek black sedan idled at the curb. This was it. No turning back. But just as she reached for the door handle, her original phone, the one in her pocket, buzzed with a text. It was from an unknown number, a single sentence that froze her blood. "The safe house is compromised. Do not get in the car." Amanda's hand froze on the car door. The warning text glowed on her screen. She looked at the driver, a man with a blank, professional expression. He gave a slight, impatient nod toward the back seat. Every instinct screamed at her to run. She forced a weak smile, patted her pockets, and mouthed, "I forgot something." Then she turned and walked, not ran, back toward the shelter's service entrance. The moment she was out of the driver's line of sight, she broke into a sprint, cutting through a narrow alley, her heart hammering against her ribs. The burner phone was a tracking device. Dominic's secure line was compromised. Someone was inside his operation, someone who knew his every move. She had nowhere to go, no money, no safe contacts. The only person she trusted was 6 years old and in a state facility. She ducked into a 24-hour laundromat, the humid air thick with the smell of detergent. She needed to think. The unknown number that had warned her, who did it belong to? An ally? Or was it another layer of the trap? She typed a reply on the burner, her fingers trembling. "Who is this?" The answer came instantly. "A friend. The car was sent by Sila's. He knows Dominic contacted you. He's cleaning house." Sila's? The consigliere. The man Dominic said he couldn't trust. If Sila's was moving against Dominic's orders, then the entire organization was turning inward, a snake eating its own tail. And she and Leo were in the middle of it. She had one card left to play, the nanny service, Elite Domestic Solutions. It was the thread that connected her to Vanessa and possibly to Sila's. She used the burner to search the company. Its website was professional, sparse. A phone number, a post office box address. It had no online presence before 2 years ago. It was a ghost, a shell. But shells have to be paid for. She remembered the paperwork she'd signed, direct deposit. She logged into the old, nearly empty bank account she'd used for the nanny salary. She scrolled through the deposits. Elite Domestic Solutions every 2 weeks. And then she saw it. 1 week before her first paycheck, a single, larger deposit from a different entity, Croft Family Holdings LLC, a test transaction. Vanessa had paid the nanny service to hire her. It was proof of premeditation. Vanessa had sought her out specifically. Amanda took screenshots. This was evidence. But evidence of what? A rich woman hiring a nanny through a shell company wasn't a crime. It was just suspicious. She needed the link to Sila's. She needed to know how Vanessa found her. Her original phone buzzed. A new text from a different unknown number. This one contained an address in the industrial district, a time 2 a.m., and 4 words. "Come alone, bring the phone." It was either suicide or salvation. She had no other leads. As midnight approached, she started walking. The address was a boarded-up textile warehouse. The neighborhood was silent, derelict. Amanda stood in the shadows, watching. At exactly 2 o'clock, a side door opened. A figure silhouetted against dim interior light waved her in. The man inside was in his late 40s, wiry, with the tired eyes of a lifelong soldier. He introduced himself as Marco. "I was one of Dominic's drivers before he went away. I answer to the boss, not to Sila's. Not anymore." He told her a story. 8 months ago, Sila started diverting funds. Small amounts at first, then larger. He was preparing an exit. But Dominic's empire wasn't a business you could retire from. The only way out was to collapse it from within or to seize control. Sila's chose control. His plan had 2 parts. First, eliminate Leo, the rightful heir, which would throw Dominic into a grief-stricken rage, making him unstable and easier to marginalize within the organization. Second, partner with an outside force to legitimize the takeover. That outside force was Vanessa Croft. She provided capital and social cover. Silas provided muscle and access. But they needed a patsy, a fall guy for Leo's death. They needed someone whose motive would be obvious, whose presence would explain everything. They needed the boy's long-lost mother, a woman desperate enough to kill for custody or vengeful enough to kill for revenge. They dug up the old files, found the trail Silas had left 7 years ago, and used the nanny service to lure Amanda to the estate. The plan was for Leo to die under her care. It would look like she poisoned him, then fled. A tragic, twisted end to a hidden family saga. But Amanda had saved him, every time. She'd been too good a nurse, too watchful a mother. She'd ruined their neat, quiet murder. Now Marco said Silas is panicking. The boss is awake and asking questions. Vanessa is furious. They're scrambling. They've moved up their timeline. They're not going to try another accident. They're going to take the boy from state custody and make it look like you did it. A kidnapping gone wrong. A murder-suicide. Amanda felt the world tilt. When? Tonight, the DCF safe house is a joke. Silas has a man on the inside. They're moving at 4 a.m. She looked at her phone. It was 2:45. We have to stop them. We can't, Marco said. I'm just one man. Silas has a team, but I can get you to the boy first. There's a back way in, a service entrance for deliveries. I know the shift change. You can get in, get Leo, and get out, but you have to be quick, and you have to be ready to fight. He handed her a small, snub-nosed pistol. It felt cold and impossibly heavy in her hand. She had never held a gun before. I can't. You have to for him. At that moment in his prison cell, Dominic Toscani was facing his own betrayal. Silas had come for a visit, their conversation monitored but carefully coded. Silas laid out the crisis. The mother is unstable, boss. She's making wild claims. The cops are digging. The Croft woman is threatening to expose our bookkeeping if we don't back off. It's a mess. Dominic studied his oldest friend's face. He saw the tension around the eyes, the too calm delivery. He thought of the warning he'd received an hour earlier, passed through a guard on his payroll. A single note, Silas is the leak. He played along. What do you recommend? We let the system handle it, Silas said. Let the boy stay in state care until the heat dies down. It's the safest place for him. We focus on containing the mother. She's the variable. You're probably right, Dominic said, feigning resignation. You've always had a clear head for these things. Handle it. As Silas left, Dominic's expression turned to granite. He knew Silas had just lied to him. The state facility was the least safe place. It was the perfect place for a quiet, deniable tragedy. He had to warn Amanda, but his channels were compromised. All he could do was trust that the mother of his child had the same survival instinct that had kept her alive for 7 years in the shadows. The DCF secure location was a repurposed group home in a quiet suburb. At 3:30 a.m., Amanda and Marco watched from a cluster of trees across the street. The building was dark except for a single security light. It looked peaceful, vulnerable. Marco pointed to a gate at the side of the property near a dumpster. That's the delivery entrance. The code is 9704. The night guard is old, half-deaf. He makes rounds on the hour. You have 15 minutes until his next round. Leo is in room 207, second floor, east wing. Here's a key card I lifted. Amanda's mouth was dry. What about Silas's men? They'll come in hard and fast through the front. They'll create a distraction, maybe a fire alarm. Then a 2-man team goes for the boy. You need to be in and out before they even breach. She nodded, her mind racing. She tucked the gun into the waistband of her pants, her uniform swapped for dark jeans and a hoodie Marco had provided. She felt like a stranger to herself. Go, Marco whispered. She crossed the street, a shadow among shadows. The gate code worked. The side door opened into a dim, linoleum-lined hallway that smelled of disinfectant and microwave meals. She moved quickly, her sneakers silent. Room 207. She swiped the key card. The lock clicked. Leo was asleep in a narrow bed, a stuffed rabbit tucked under his arm. Her heart shattered and rebuilt itself in a single beat. She knelt beside him, gently placing a hand over his mouth. His eyes flew open, wide with fear, then recognition, then pure joy. He threw his arms around her neck. "We have to be very quiet, sweetheart," she whispered. "We're playing a hide-and-seek game with some not nice people. Can you be my brave boy?" He nodded, his small body trembling. She helped him put on his shoes and coat. They crept into the hallway. The building was silent, too silent. They were halfway down the main staircase when the first explosion shattered the front doors. Glass and wood splinters filled the lobby. Two figures in black tactical gear rushed in, smoke grenades rolling at their feet. The fire alarm blared, a deafening shriek. Amanda yanked Leo back, pulling him into a first-floor janitor's closet. She locked the door, plunging them into darkness filled with the smell of bleach. "We hide here," Leo whispered, terrified. "No, baby, we run out the back, but we have to wait for them to go upstairs." Heavy boots pounded past their door, heading for the stairs. They were following the plan. Amanda counted to 30, her ear pressed to the door. Then she unlocked it and peered out. The lobby was filled with smoke. The guard was nowhere to be seen. Now. She grabbed Leo's hand and ran for the side door they'd come in. They burst out into the cool night air. Freedom was 20 feet away, across the back lawn to the tree line where Marco was waiting. A voice stopped them, going somewhere. A man stepped from behind the dumpster. He was big, holding a pistol with a casual ease. It was the driver from the black sedan, Silas's man. Amanda pushed Leo behind her. Her hand crept toward her own waistband. "Don't," the man said. "The boss just wants the kid. You can walk away. This doesn't have to be messy." He took a step forward. In that moment, Amanda saw not a professional killer, but a man doing a job. She saw the slight hesitation in his eyes. He didn't want to shoot a woman in front of a child. "It's already messy," she said. And then she did the last thing he expected. She didn't reach for the gun. She reached into her pocket and threw the handful of coins and lint she'd gathered in the closet directly at his face. He flinched, his arm coming up instinctively. It was the half-second she needed. She lunged, not at him, but at Leo, shoving the boy toward the trees. "Run, Leo. Run to the trees." The man recovered, cursing, and swung his weapon toward her. A shot rang out, but it wasn't from his gun. The man crumpled, clutching his leg. Standing 10 yards away, smoke curling from his pistol, was Marco. "Go, now." Amanda didn't look back. She scooped up Leo and ran, her legs burning, until she collapsed behind Marco's idling van. He shoved them inside and peeled away, tires screeching. In the back, clutching her son, Amanda finally allowed herself to cry. They were safe, for now. But in the warehouse district, Silas received the call. The extraction failed. The mother has the boy, and Marco has turned. Silas's face darkened. This was no longer a quiet takeover. This was war, and wars had casualties. He picked up a second phone, the one he used for a single, dangerous contact. "It's time," he said. "Activate the contingency. Burn it all down." At that same moment in her penthouse, Vanessa Croft was deleting files from her computer. She wasn't panicking. She was calculating. The plan had failed, but the board was still set. She had one final move, a piece she'd kept hidden even from Silas. A piece that could end the game in a single, devastating stroke. Amanda Vance had her son back, but she had just stolen the most wanted child in the city from two of its most powerful predators. There was no hiding anymore. The only way out was through. The final battle for Leo Toscani was about to begin, and it would be fought not in shadowy alleys, but in the blinding light of day. Marco drove them to a forgotten safe house, a dusty apartment above a closed butcher shop that hadn't been used in years. For 24 hours, the world went quiet, but Amanda knew it was the eye of the storm. Silas had activated his contingency. Vanessa was making her final move, and she had to make hers first. She used Marco's secure laptop. She uploaded everything. The screenshots of the bank deposits from Croft Family Holdings to the nanny service, the lab report on the vitamin, Marco's recorded testimony detailing Silas's embezzlement and the plot with Vanessa. She wrote a statement, a full chronology from the moment she was hired to the gunfire at the group home. Then she attached it all to an email addressed to Judge Wilkins, the district attorney, and every major news desk in the city. The subject line was simple: the plot to kill Leo Toscani. She didn't send it, not yet. It was a digital dead man's switch, a grenade with the pin pulled held in her hand. Then she called Dominic. He answered on the first ring, his voice strained. "Amanda, where's my boy?" "He's safe for now. We need to talk about Silas." "I know," Dominic said, the words heavy with a grief that had nothing to do with death. "Marco got word to me. 20 years. I trusted him with my life." "You trusted him with mine," she countered, not with malice but with cold fact. "And with Leo's, that trust is gone. The organization is poisoned. You can't control it from in there. You have to cut it out." There was a long silence. "What are you asking me to do?" "I'm asking you to burn it down, to give me the names, the accounts, the ledgers, everything Silas could use. I'm going to give it all to the authorities." "You'll be sending me away for 1,000 years," Dominic whispered. "You're already gone for life," she said, her voice breaking. "But you can save your son. You can give him a chance at a real life away from all of this. That's the only legacy that matters now. Be his father, not his boss." The line was so quiet she thought it had disconnected. Then she heard him take a shuddering breath. "You're right. I'll have the files delivered to Marco within the hour. Do what you have to do. And Amanda, tell him I'm sorry for everything." She ended the call and wept, for the life they might have had, for the man he was and the man he could never be. The files came as promised, a digital avalanche of encrypted records detailing 2 decades of criminal enterprise. It was the keys to the kingdom, coated in blood. Amanda added it to her package. The weight of it was terrifying. Then her original phone rang. It was Vanessa. "I know you have him." Vanessa's voice was smooth, calm. "You've caused an incredible amount of trouble, Amanda. Or should I call you Clara? The name on your first fake ID. Silas told me." "What do you want?" "I want what's mine. My brother's assets. The trust fund for the boy. It's over $100 million. I'm willing to deal. You sign over guardianship to me voluntarily. I get the money. You get to walk away with Leo and a generous severance. $5 million. A new identity far away from here. No one needs to get hurt." Amanda almost laughed. "You tried to murder a child 3 times, and now you're offering me a bribe." "The attempts were Silas's idea. Crude, impulsive. I just wanted the money. I'm offering you a clean exit. Otherwise, Silas's contingency plan goes into effect. He's going to frame you for kidnapping and murder. He has a body, a homeless woman about your size. He has witnesses who will say they saw you take Leo. The evidence will be overwhelming. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison, and Leo will still end up with me. Take the deal." It was a good offer, a terrifyingly good one. Safety, money, her son. All she had to do was legitimize the woman who wanted him dead. "I need to think," Amanda said. "You have 1 hour," Vanessa replied and hung up. Amanda looked at the email draft on the screen, her finger hovering over the send button. She looked at Leo, sleeping fitfully on a cot, clutching his rabbit. She could run. She could take the money and vanish, just like Dominic told her to 7 years ago. But that was the old Amanda, the one who ran. The new Amanda, the mother, the fighter, knew that running just meant living with a monster at your back forever. Vanessa would always want the money. Silas would always want her silence. There was no clean exit. She made her choice. She forwarded the entire evidence package to one more recipient, Detective Ellen Morales, the lead investigator on Dominic Toscani's original racketeering case, a cop known for being stubborn, incorruptible, and hungry for a big win. In the body of the email, Amanda wrote, "I have Leo Toscani. We are at the following address. We are not safe. The people coming for us are in the files. I am sending this to the press in 60 minutes. Get here first." Then she pressed send. The clock started ticking. 30 minutes later, unmarked cars began to quietly block both ends of the street. Detective Morales, a woman with a sharp gaze and a no-nonsense ponytail, approached the butcher shop door with a team of 8 armed officers. Amanda watched from the window, her heart in her throat. This was it. She was either surrendering to safety or walking into a cell. She woke Leo. "It's okay, baby. The good guys are here." As they descended the stairs, Marco stood in the shadows of the back room, giving her a solemn nod. He would disappear now, his debt to Dominic paid. Amanda opened the door, her hands raised. Leo clung to her leg. Detective Morales looked from the terrified boy to the exhausted woman and holstered her weapon. "Amanda Vance, I'm Detective Morales. You're safe now." But safe was a relative term. The detective took them to a federal holding facility, a truly secure location. As Amanda was debriefed, the evidence bomb she'd assembled detonated across the city. The news broke like a tsunami. Socialite linked to Mafia in child murder plot. TOSCNI consigliere accused of embezzlement, conspiracy. The DA, facing a public relations nightmare and an ironclad case, moved with uncharacteristic speed. Warrants were issued. Vanessa Croft was arrested at her penthouse for conspiracy to commit murder and fraud. Silas was picked up at his office, charged with a litany of crimes including attempted murder, embezzlement, and racketeering. The evidence was so vast, so detailed, that their lawyers advised immediate plea talks. In prison, Dominic Toscani gave a full, on-the-record confession to Detective Morales, corroborating the financial records and detailing Silas's historical operations. It added decades to his sentence, but it sealed the fate of his betrayers. He was transferred to a supermax facility, a ghost in the system. But he'd done what he promised. He'd burned his world down to ash. Family court reconvened. With Vanessa arrested and Dominic's parental rights formally terminated, the only person left standing who Leo would even speak to was Amanda. The DA, leveraging her cooperation, advocated for her. Child psychologists testified that Leo saw her as his mother, that separating them would cause profound harm. Judge Wilkins, reviewing the full scope of Amanda's actions, from saving the boy repeatedly to risking her own freedom to bring down the conspiracy, made her ruling. Amanda Vance was granted full legal and permanent guardianship of Leo Toscani. The state would provide protection and support until the threat was deemed neutralized. It wasn't adoption. It was something rarer, recognition. 1 week after the ruling, Amanda received a visitor at the new, anonymous safe house provided by Witness Protection. It was a federal marshal with a sealed envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a notarized document signed by Dominic Toscani. It was a full, irrevocable relinquishment of any and all paternal claims, consenting to Amanda's guardianship. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, was a note. "He calls you Mom. That's enough for me. Keep him safe. D." She cried for an hour. The final surprise came from the ashes of Dominic's empire. The $100 million trust fund for Leo had a secondary clause, one drafted by a paranoid Dominic long ago. If any attempt was made to dispute the beneficiary, or if the beneficiary was deemed under threat, the entire fund would liquidate and convert into a charitable trust, inaccessible to anyone, including Leo. Vanessa's lawsuit had triggered the clause. The money was gone, funneled into a foundation for children of incarcerated parents. Amanda didn't care. She had Leo. She had a future. They would leave the city, start over under new names with new histories. She would go back to school, become a nurse again. He would go to a normal school, make friends, have a childhood. On their last night in the city, she tucked him into bed. He looked up at her, his eyes clear for the first time in months. "Mom, Are the bad people gone? The big ones are, sweetheart, she said, smoothing his hair. Will we see my dad again? She thought of the man in the Supermax, of the sacrifice he'd finally made. Maybe when you're much older if you want to, but for now it's just you and me. He smiled, a real easy smile. That's okay. I like just you and me. Downstairs, Detective Morales waited. The car is ready. The papers are set. You're Amanda Miller again. He's Leo Miller. Clean slate. Amanda took one last look around the safe, sterile apartment. It wasn't a home, but where they were going could be. She picked up their two small suitcases. She was no longer a cleaning lady, a nanny, a homeless woman, or a fugitive. She was a mother, and that was the only title she'd ever needed. The war for Leo Toscani was over. The life for Leo Miller was just beginning. In the end, the most dangerous man in the city was defeated not by a rival gang or a federal indictment, but by the two things he thought he understood best: family and sacrifice. Dominic Toscani built a fortress of fear, believing it would protect what was his. But true protection wasn't found in walls or weapons. It was found in the quiet defiance of a woman who refused to let a child be forgotten. It was in the final, painful choice of a father to let go completely so his son could live. The empire of cement and cash is gone, dismantled by the very evidence meant to secure it. What remains is a far more powerful legacy: a boy who is safe and a mother who finally came home. The story of Amanda and Leo forces us to ask a difficult question. What makes a parent? Is it biology, or is it the choice to stand between a child and the darkness, no matter the cost? The law recognized Amanda Vance not because of a birth certificate, but because of her actions. In a world obsessed with bloodlines and inheritance, this case reminds us that the strongest bonds are often forged in the fires of crisis, by those who choose to love when it is hardest to do so. Vanessa Croft and Silas both believed they understood value. They saw it in ledger books and bank balances. They failed to understand that the most valuable thing in this entire saga was the thing they tried to destroy: the simple, unbreakable connection between a mother and her son. That connection proved to be the one force their money and their violence could not break. So where does that leave us? With a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary heroes don't wear capes or carry badges. They wear cleaning uniforms. They have nothing to their name but courage. They operate not from a place of power, but from a place of love. And that, against all odds, can be enough to topple kingdoms. The courtroom where it began is just a room again. The video monitor that carried a Mafia boss's shock has been turned off, but the echo of a small boy's voice, pointing to the back of the room and changing every life in it, that echo remains. It asks us to look past the surface, to question the official story, and to remember that family is not always who you're born to, but who fights for you when the world closes in. If you found yourself pulled into this story of impossible choices and hidden identities, then you understand the power of a narrative that challenges what we think we know. For more documentaries that explore the shocking truths hidden in plain sight, make sure to subscribe. Because the world is full of stories waiting to be told, and we're just getting started.